Hello, welcome to Sky Sweaty Record Review, episode 65. It's the only new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after getting off the elliptical at the YMCA. So first of all, at the end of this episode, I'm going to be debuting a new feature. It's Professor Payne's pretentious postface. Postface? Anyways, I'm going to try to put more interesting stuff at the end to encourage, watching the whole thing. Why do I even look at the analytics? I don't know. Actually, today's going to be a new show anyways. Normally, I only review things that are a week old, or less than a week old. But every once in a while, I review something, and then I get a lot of people telling me I should check something out. Like, check this out, check this out. So today, I'm going to review something that people ask me to check out. It's the new feature, get ready for a new piece of production on my show, the Checkout Check-In. All right. I'm too proud of that. The Checkout Check-In. So what that means is I'm going to be going over something that multiple people in the comments have suggested I review. So if you're ever watching one of my videos and you think, oh, Sky, I like the way you're thinking, or maybe you should check this out, you never know, I might review it. This is, of course, in honor of my 100th subscriber. I'll do the next one of these at 150 because I'm that confident. So, this is the deal. Hippo Campus was a band I had never heard of, okay? I just never heard of them. I selected them, 5 months ago because I liked their name and the album sounded okay. When I made this show, I didn't really anticipate getting any viewers. I was really doing it for myself. I don't want to oppress others with my opinions, like my friends. I don't want to just be like, hey, you listen to what I think about the new Eminem album, I want to separate my thoughts from my interpersonal relationships. So I made this so that instead of being ignored by 5 people, I could be ignored by the whole world. And maybe a small subset of people would be interested. So I've never tried to get viewers. So when I get viewers, I get confused, which is good. It's a good confusion. And after I reviewed Hippo Campus, it was the first time ever that I had actual viewers, actual views, actual comments. If you look at my, analytics or whatever, it's a huge spike. And what I realized was that my show had the ability to do something that most shows can't. I can, with fresh eyes, look at something that people are really passionate about. And I have so many really deep passions about a lot of things that I know how much fun it is when people just show up and are like, oh, is that the thing you've dedicated your life to? Let me take it seriously and tell you what I think, okay? So that's what Hippo Campus is. It's like the best of this show. I discovered something new, I interacted with other people, and I think I provided a service that was good for Hippo Campus fans, in addition to people who just want to explore new music. So, another funny thing, just a side note, so my first subscriber was my girlfriend, and she only subscribes to my channel and I think ContraPoints. That's it. So her YouTube feed only tells her to either watch super left-wing stuff or Hippo Campus. Hippo Campus is always the first thing. So there's this weird tie between people who subscribe to me and people who like Hippo Campus. So that's another reason I'm doing the show, just to make it worse for my girlfriend, so that she'll always get Hippo Campus suggestions in her YouTube algorithm. So, last time I reviewed Bambi, which is the album that came out a couple months ago. And I reviewed it and I said that they were post-hype sleepers, that it was allegedly going to be they were the next big thing, and then they just weren't. And I reviewed the album and I mentioned a few things about it, and a lot of their fans were like, Sky, you nailed it. This is exactly the good things and the bad things about this album. Check out Landmark. Check out their old stuff. So after a few months, I've been living with Landmark, their first full-length album from 2017. And by that I mean I haven't just listened to it once. I've listened to it 5 or 6 times, driving around with my kids, driving around with my girlfriend, going to the gym, just kind of living with it, really checking it out. And what I've discovered is that I really like Hippo Campus. And more than that, I really think that if you're watching this show, you should give them a real shot. If you've ever felt like, oh, is rock and roll dying? I think they might be partly the antidote to that ridiculous question. So let me take you through the album. There's very few low points on this record and several high points. It starts off in the same way that Bambi does, with kind of a instrumental beginning that's a little bit weighty, a little bit preposterous. Not preposterous. I was going to say pretentious, but my buddy in Denmark, not my buddy, a viewer in Denmark tells me I use that word too much, so I'm just going to say it again. Pretentious, pretentious, pretentious. But it works. It's nice because, like Bambi, it feels like these people are trying to create an album. Not a series of singles, not an EP, but an album. And these instrumental interludes, there's 2 of them on this album, pretentious or not, help to create that sense of weight, of epicness even. So it then leads into Way It Goes, which is just a wonderful indie pop rock song. It's extremely catchy. I mean, you hear it. I mean, I've just been do. Yeah, I just had it stuck in my head all the time. That was not how it goes, by the way. You'll have to listen to it. It sounds initially really kind of like the Strokes. And I like the Strokes. But it's like the Strokes if the Strokes weren't ironic. And the worst thing about the Strokes is that they're usually ironic. At least that's how I feel. So it's excellent. The chorus is a little bit like light rocky for me, a little bit too breezy, but still, like, they bring in a guitar solo, and the whole song, it's just a beautifully constructed, beautifully produced rock and roll song. Then comes my stamp of the album. One of my favorite songs I've heard. I don't know if I like it as much as I like Doubt off of Bambi, but close. The song is called Vines, and it's not about the social media thing, I don't think. Maybe it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hippocampus fans who are potentially watching this. I don't know the name of the drummer. You can tell me in the comments if you want. But this might be like the best drummer working in rock and roll right now. And it's not because he's flashy. He's not particularly flashy. There's no drum solos, and you don't hear anything, and he's not doing things that are like switching from 5/8 to 7/12 and any of the stuff like that. He's not flashy. But goddamn, he works hard. You listen to this song, it's basically mostly drums. And it's this great, wonderfully produced song with an amazing drum line. So it's really worth it. Just listen to the drum line. And again, it's not that what he's doing is not anything. It's not like it would take you 10 years or 10,000 hours to play what he's playing. But you have to be really good and have a great sense of how to merge accessible rhythms with complication. It's just beautiful. The song's particularly nice because the guitarist, for the most part, doesn't do a ton of chords. I guess there's probably more than one guitarist. But they do a lot of like single note work, which is nice. Somewhat reminiscent of the Smiths, which I like a lot. Then the singer and the guitar player for a part of this song are playing the exact same note. Like just absolutely echoed. I call it Mickey Mousing. Like it's a term in sound design in movies. Like if the soundtrack goes along with what the person is doing on screen, that's called Mickey Mousing. That's kind of how it feels here. Like every single note that the singer sings is matched by the guitar. But it absolutely works. It has a beautiful quiet part, like this sort of bridge. And this is where, my initial take on them was, is this vocalist annoying? And by this point, I decided no. They seem to have a kind of formula going on this album of an interesting introduction, a verse, a chorus, and then a third part that's a little bit quieter and coming back. You find that on the song Epitaph, which is the next song. They take the vocals, and in the beginning, they kind of intentionally mess them up, kind of bring them down. It's kind of stupid, but it reminds me of Fight Club when Brad Pitt says that we have to destroy Jared Leto's face. We have to destroy something beautiful. It feels like this whole, because the thing about the singer is he's really clear. Amazingly clear. Perhaps too clear for some. But they take his very clear vocals and they kind of take them down. It feels like they're intentionally playing with that sense that we have. The only thing about this song is Hippocampus fans, I hate to tell you, but this is basically plagiarism, because the verse, if you listen to the verse to the song Epitaph and then listen to that pop song, I love you always forever, do 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 do, it's like the exact same song. It's unbelievable. I mean, Epitaph is still a great tune because it keeps on going. There's another quiet part. The drums come back in. The bridge is this beautiful whole section with like lyrics about poetry and about nature and about the meadow being a church for people unsure of justice. I don't know. I don't remember what the lyrics are. It's a great song, but I love you always, forever, near and far, always together. Like, you could do a mashup of those two things and it would be absolutely perfect. Then there's a song followed by Simple Season. And here I'm just going to riff a little bit. And for those of you who aren't necessarily Hippocampus fans but are interested in deeper theories about pop music, tell me how this feels. So Simple Season, the way the guitars are played, it reminds me a lot of Vampire Weekend, right? Just, again, very clear guitars, mostly single notes, very few chords. And it reminded me of driving around with my friend Brad. My friend Brad, his father, had a 1987 Camry with a cassette player. And the only thing that Brad's dad listened to was Paul Simon records from the 80s. The only thing. That was it. Paul Simon, and that's it. Like, nothing. Like, he had like doubles of the same cassette tapes in case one broke out, because he only wanted to listen to Paul Simon's music of the 80s, which, if you don't know it, is an interesting mixture of like folk and African guitar and African rhythms. It's great. I mean, it's great music. I don't personally like Paul Simon for reasons I don't even understand. But like, is the Vampire Weekend, like, is that style of guitar in modern indie just kids who were exposed to Paul Simon as youth? Is it like a third generation filtering down from African guitar to Paul Simon to Vampire Weekend to Hippocampus, etc.? Is it like a third generation African guitar thing happening? It's just an idea. I don't know. Maybe I'm just remembering laughing at my friend Brad's dad, who's a very cool dude. And the other part of this song that I want to mention is it has a whistle. And here's another question. Can you name a rock and roll song that was made better by whistling? I don't think you can. And don't give me Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. That's a soul song. That's not a rock and roll song. This is a message to all indie rockers out there. Don't whistle in your songs, because indie rock has been so co-opted by Apple and Volkswagen that the second you have whistling in there, I feel like I'm watching a Volkswagen commercial. So don't do it. Next, there's a nice song. It feels a little bit like a filler called Tuesday, which appears to be about early stages of alcoholism. An interesting section, an interesting theme. But there isn't another section. There's just kind of a repetition of the hook. The next stamp on the album is Western Kids. This is leading up to what Bambi will become, I believe. This is where the production gets more interesting, more challenging. The rhythms, I think, are actually augmented by electronic drums. Again, the drummer's just writing, just playing insane. Multiple instances of like these like melodies that come in and are replaced by another, like multiple melodies going in. The themes like about the craziness of American kids in the suburbs. And this is where I realized it's actually probably not fair to compare Hippocampus to Vampire Weekend or The Strokes. And this is about the highest compliment I can give a rock and roll band. I actually think they're closer to Phoenix. Phoenix is one of my absolute favorite bands. But like the nature of this production, the precision of the production, the clarity of the vocals, of all the instrumental parts, the ambition of it, the Beach Boys-ness of this production is so great that I think that might actually be the closer comparison. They might be an American Phoenix. And looking back at Bambi, which I re-listened to again, I really think that's where they're going. And even the singer is similar to the singer of Phoenix, except he's not just singing borderline gobbledygook with complicated vocabulary words like the singer of Phoenix. Although at some point on the Hippocampus album, he does say solipsistic overtones, which is like a perfect Phoenix lyric. This song, Western Kids, is great because there's like this, the third part is like silence and there's like booming, like maybe keyboard or affected guitars. Just a great song. Excellent. There's some downbeat moments on the album as well, Poems. It's kind of self-aware, nice kind of 80s drum beat, followed by Monsoon, another really nice downbeat song. It's very crisp vocals, piano, beautiful, even falsetto. It's like the kind of song that you hear on a movie soundtrack, and you're like, oh, I want to hear that song. And then you find it, and then you discover that you like this band. Then it has one more instrumental song, and then ends with Buttercup, which is sort of like the whole album in a song. All the things I've been mentioning, great drumming, interesting guitar lines, clear vocals, excellent production, all in one song, which, I don't know, maybe I was just tired of listening to the album. So I wasn't drawn to Buttercup the way I was drawn to the rest, but it was a perfect ending to it. So there you have it. I went back, and like I said, I re-listened to Bambi, and this is like a really good band. Like, I don't actually understand how it is that they're not bigger. How had I not heard of them? They are really doing great, great things. If you take these two albums, Landmark and Bambi, Landmark is like this perfect expression of this kind of light indie rock, excellent songwriting and production, and then Bambi shows this desire to basically take all of that but just add more offbeat production, more electronic stuff into it, but still staying true to the general sense. It's excellent. This is a really vital, working, awesome rock band that truly gives me faith that rock and roll will continue. This is excellent. So thank you for making me check out Landmark. For the 150th sub, I'm going to check out Daughter as a response to my X-Ray video, which also had a lot of great responses. But as promised, Professor Payne's pretentious post-face, the ending bit. The theme I just want to talk about is how can you learn to love music when it's so easy to dismiss things you don't like? I mean, it's really one of my true beliefs in this show. I'm like evangelical about it. That intelligence, wisdom more than intelligence, and like youthful brain. To have a youthful brain, you need flexibility. And new music is one of the easiest ways to constantly challenge the rigidity of your thinking. And so this is what I do for new music. And you should try it. Please try it. Don't try it. I don't care. I do care. Try it. Listen to something new. And when you do, identify the thing that you hate the most. Okay? Like, let's take, for example, the singer in Hippocampus. Okay? Identify what that thing is. And then accept it. Accept that you hate it. Just say, I don't like this singer. I probably won't like this band, but I don't like this singer. Then accept it and move on. Listen to the other things that are happening. In this case, I heard this drummer. Like, oh my God, this guy is unbelievable. I heard the guitar. Like, this is kind of Johnny Marr style guitar. I heard the bass, super in tune with the drummer. I heard the songwriting. I heard the production. I absolutely fell in love with everything except for this singer who just sounded like a bland, handsome guy saying nothing. Once I did that, I was able to actually appreciate everything around it, and eventually I came to accept the singer because it was a part of the whole thing. And I even now like the singer, okay? I mean, he's part of the whole thing that I ended up liking. And now my life is richer because I have this band in my life. I could have just been like, Hippocampus, yeah, I know those guys. Singer's lame. Move on. But instead, I have this other thing. And I think this happens, I think you can apply this everywhere in music, you know? If you don't like trap beats, okay, listen to a trap beat, accept that you're not going to like that part, and then listen to the rhyming. Is it good rhyming? Modern pop music. Oh, it's so overproduced, and what's up, this isn't rock and roll. Okay, take that and listen to the rest. Now, maybe you hate everything about Imagine Dragons, okay? That's possible. But if you're like me, and I accepted the things that I just sat with the things I didn't like and tried to appreciate the rest, I ended up liking it. I believe that that's the reason that 80s music has made such a comeback in the modern soundscape. I think that for 20 years, people started to hate the 80s sound, the 80s aesthetic. But as time went on, they learned to accept it. And then they went back and realized, wait a minute, Take On Me is actually a great song. I can get over the drum beat. I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight is a great song, despite its cheesiness. Everything about the 80s, there's always one thing you have to sort of just accept and then move on. So there you go. There's my idea. All right, it's been another long episode. I apologize if you don't like long episodes, but if you do, then I say you're welcome. Until next time, there's the camera.